Question 1. A new Scrum team has been formed. During their first sprint retrospective, the developers suggest that the Scrum Master should also take on some development tasks to help the team meet its forecast. What is the most appropriate response from the Scrum Master? A. Agree to take on some simple tasks to demonstrate servant leadership. B. Decline, explaining that the Scrum Master's role must remain focused on coaching and removing impediments. C. Ask the product owner to decide if this is a good use of the Scrum Master's time. D. Agree, but only if the team is at risk of not delivering the sprint goal. Answer: B. Decline, explaining that the Scrum Master's role must remain focused on coaching and removing impediments. The Scrum Master's primary responsibility is to ensure the Scrum framework is understood and enacted, which includes coaching the team and removing impediments to their progress. Taking on development tasks creates a conflict of interest and distracts the Scrum Master from their core duties, potentially masking underlying team dysfunctions or process issues. A Scrum Master serves the team best by helping them become more effective, not by doing their work for them. For example, instead of coding, the Scrum Master could help the team identify why their forecast was inaccurate and facilitate a discussion on improving their estimation or workflow. A great tip is to remember that a Scrum Master works on the team's process, not in the team's development work. Question 2. The product owner is unavailable for an extended period during a sprint. The developers need clarification on a complex product backlog item they have pulled into the sprint. What is the best course of action for the developers? A. Make an educated guess about the requirements to avoid slowing down. B. Ask the Scrum Master to provide the clarification or make the decision on behalf of the product owner. C. Stop work on that item and wait for the product owner to return. D. Seek out the key stakeholders who originally requested the feature for clarification. Answer: A. Make an educated guess about the requirements to avoid slowing down. In the absence of the product owner, the self-managing developers are empowered to make the best decision they can based on the information available to them, including the product goal and sprint goal. While not ideal, making an informed decision and proceeding is better than creating a dependency or stopping work, as this maintains the flow of value. The outcome can then be inspected with the product owner upon their return, providing a learning opportunity. This situation highlights the importance of thorough product backlog refinement and a clear product goal to guide the developers when the product owner is unavailable. The key here is that self-management includes the authority to make local decisions to keep moving forward. Question 3. What is the relationship between the increment and the product backlog? A. The increment is a separate artifact from the product backlog. B. The sprint backlog is a snapshot of the increment. C. The product backlog is the single source of work for the increment. D. The increment provides the requirements for the product backlog. Answer: C. The product backlog is the single source of work for the increment. The product backlog serves as the single, authoritative source for all work, changes, and requirements needed to improve the product. Each increment is a concrete step toward the product goal, and all the work that goes into creating it originates from items in the product backlog. An increment integrates the new work from the current sprint with all previous increments, ensuring the entire product remains usable. Think of the product backlog as a recipe book for the entire product, and each increment is a fully baked dish that incorporates a few more recipes from that book. Question 4. During a sprint, the CEO asks the developers to add an urgent item to the sprint backlog. What should the developers do? A. Add the item to the sprint backlog immediately because the CEO has the highest authority. B. Refer the CEO to the Scrum Master to handle the request. C. Refuse the request as the sprint backlog is frozen after sprint planning. D. Advise the CEO to discuss the request with the product owner to assess its impact on the product goal. Answer: D. Advise the CEO to discuss the request with the product owner to assess its impact on the product goal. The product owner is solely responsible for managing the product backlog and its contents, which includes maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team. While the developers are self-managing, they work from the product backlog, and only the product owner has the authority to add, remove, or change the order of its items. The developers should direct the CEO to the product owner, who can then work with stakeholders to determine the item's priority and decide if it justifies disrupting the current sprint, potentially by creating a new one. Remember, protecting the sprint goal is crucial, but the product owner is the single point of contact for all work requests. Question 5. The definition of done is created during which Scrum event? A. Sprint planning. B. The first sprint retrospective. C. The sprint review. D. It is not created in a specific event, it is an ongoing responsibility of the Scrum team. Answer: D. It is not created in a specific event, it is an ongoing responsibility of the Scrum team. The definition of done is not tied to a single Scrum event for its creation, it is an emergent standard for the quality of the increment, established and refined by the Scrum team. While a team might initially draft it when they first form, it is expected to evolve and become more stringent over time as the team matures and learns more about the product. The team might inspect and adapt the definition of done during a sprint retrospective, but its creation and maintenance are an ongoing part of the team's commitment to quality. The key is that it's a living document owned by the whole Scrum team to ensure everyone shares an understanding of what done means. Question 6. A Scrum team consistently fails to complete all the items they bring into the sprint backlog. What is the most likely cause? A. The Scrum Master is not managing the team's tasks effectively. B. The team members are not committed or skilled enough. C. The team is not creating a sprint goal to provide focus. D. The team is overcommitting during sprint planning and their definition of done may be incomplete. Answer: D. The team is overcommitting during sprint planning and their definition of done may be incomplete. Consistently failing to finish the selected work often points to issues in the planning and quality definition process, which are key inspect and adapt loops in Scrum. The team may be too optimistic about what they can achieve, overcommitting, or they may be discovering a significant amount of unexpected work because their definition of done isn't clear or robust enough. This leads to work being almost done, but not meeting the quality standard required for a releasable increment. The sprint retrospective is the perfect event for the team to investigate this pattern and adapt their approach for the next sprint. Think of this as a team learning to right-size their ambition for a sprint based on empirical evidence from past performance. Question 7. Who is responsible for managing the progress of work during a sprint? A. The Scrum Master. B. The developers. C. The product owner. D. The project manager. Answer: B. The developers. Within the Scrum framework, the developers are a self-managing unit responsible for all aspects of creating a done, usable increment each sprint. This includes planning their work, tracking their own progress towards the sprint goal, and adapting their plan as new information emerges. The daily Scrum is the key event where they inspect their progress and create a plan for the next 24 hours. The Scrum Master serves by removing impediments, and the product owner is focused on value, but the day-to-day management and execution of the work rests entirely with the developers. Always remember that Scrum trusts the people doing the work to be the best ones to manage it. Question 8. The purpose of a sprint is to A. Deliver a set of features from the product backlog. B. Create a done, usable, and potentially releasable product increment. C. Allow the Scrum Master to gather status updates from the developers. D. Test the product and fix as many bugs as possible. Answer: B. Create a done, usable, and potentially releasable product increment. The heart of Scrum is the sprint, a time-boxed event where a valuable and usable increment of the product is created. While this increment is built from product backlog items, the goal is not just to complete a list of features but to produce a coherent, integrated, and potentially releasable piece of the product that meets the definition of done. This provides a regular opportunity to get feedback and adapt, which is central to the empirical nature of Scrum. Think of each sprint as a mini-project that delivers a functional piece of the larger puzzle, not just a random collection of tasks. Question 9. Who has the authority to cancel a sprint? A. The Scrum Master, if the team is consistently failing to meet the sprint goal. B. The developers, if they realize they cannot complete the work. C. The product owner, if the sprint goal becomes obsolete. D. The stakeholders, if the business priorities change. Answer: C. The product owner, if the sprint goal becomes obsolete. Only the product owner has the authority to cancel a sprint, and this is a rare and disruptive event. This decision is made only when the sprint goal, the single objective for the sprint, becomes obsolete due to a significant change in business direction, market conditions, or technology. For example, if a competitor releases a feature that makes the current sprint's work irrelevant, the product owner might cancel the sprint to avoid wasting effort. It's not cancelled for failing to meet a forecast or for technical challenges, it's cancelled when the fundamental purpose of the sprint no longer makes sense. Question 10. Several Scrum teams are working on the same product. How should they manage their product backlog? A. Each Scrum team should have its own separate product backlog. B. They must share a single product backlog, but each team has its own product owner. C. They must share a single product backlog and a single product owner. D. One team's product owner manages the backlog for all other teams. Answer: C. They must share a single product backlog and a single product owner. When multiple teams work on a single product, they must use a single product backlog to ensure all work is transparent and prioritized in one place. A single product owner is accountable for this backlog to provide a unified vision and clear direction for the entire product. Having separate backlogs or multiple product owners for one product would lead to conflicting priorities, integration problems, and a fragmented product. This ensures that all teams are aligned towards the same product goal and that dependencies can be effectively managed. The rule is simple: one product backlog, one product owner. Question 11. What is the main purpose of the sprint review? A. To provide a status report to stakeholders and get sign-off on the completed work. B. For the Scrum Master to assess the performance of the developers. C. To inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations for the product. D. To demonstrate the increment and formally accept or reject the work done. Answer: C. To inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations for the product. The sprint review is a collaborative working session, not a formal presentation or sign-off meeting. Its core purpose is for the Scrum team and stakeholders to inspect the increment created during the sprint and discuss progress toward the product goal. This inspection leads to adaptation, where attendees collaborate on what to do next, providing valuable input that the product owner can use to update the product backlog. The focus is on the future of the product based on what was just learned, embodying the inspect and adapt cycle. Think of it as a product-focused retrospective, where the team and stakeholders ask, based on what we've just built, what's the most valuable thing to do next? Question 12. During the daily Scrum, the developers are discussing a technical problem in detail. The discussion is taking more than 15 minutes. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Stop the discussion immediately and remind the team to stick to the 15-minute time box. B. Let the discussion continue, as solving technical problems is important. C. Note the impediment and take responsibility for finding a solution after the meeting. D. Facilitate the recognition that this detailed problem solving should happen after the daily Scrum among the relevant team members. Answer: D. Facilitate the recognition that this detailed problem solving should happen after the daily Scrum among the relevant team members. The daily Scrum is a 15-minute time-boxed event for the developers to plan their work for the next 24 hours, not a deep problem-solving session. When a detailed technical discussion emerges, the Scrum Master should facilitate by helping the team recognize that it's a valuable conversation but needs to be taken offline, outside of the daily Scrum. This respects the purpose and timebox of the event while ensuring the identified problem is addressed by the right people immediately afterward. A good Scrum Master teaches the team to self-manage this, for instance by saying, "This sounds important. Who needs to sync up right after this to resolve it?" Question 13. Which of the following best describes the Scrum value of courage? A. The courage to commit to delivering all forecasted work in the sprint backlog. B. The courage for the Scrum team members to work on tough problems and support each other. C. The courage to ignore stakeholder feedback if it conflicts with the sprint goal. D. The courage for the Scrum Master to assign tasks to team members who are falling behind. Answer: B. The courage for the Scrum team members to work on tough problems and support each other. The Scrum value of courage means that team members feel safe to take on challenging problems, to be open about impediments, to disagree respectfully, and to support each other's decisions. It is not about being reckless or confrontational, but about having the professional integrity to do the right thing and work on difficult issues for the good of the product and the team. For example, it takes courage for a developer to admit they don't know how to solve a problem or for the team to scrap work that isn't leading toward the sprint goal. A helpful way to view it is that courage enables the transparency needed for empiricism to work effectively. Question 14. A product backlog is never complete. What does this principle mean? A. The product backlog is a low-priority artifact that can be updated at any time without much thought. B. It is a living artifact that evolves as the product, stakeholders, and market conditions change. C. The product owner is never finished with their job of writing user stories. D. The team will never finish the product, so the backlog will always have items. Answer: B. It is a living artifact that evolves as the product, stakeholders, and market conditions change. The statement that a product backlog is never complete highlights its dynamic and evolving nature. It is not a static list of requirements but a living document that changes based on feedback, learning, and shifting priorities throughout the product's lifecycle. As long as a product exists, its product backlog will also exist to capture new ideas, adaptations, and bug fixes. This ensures the product can continuously adapt to meet user needs and market demands, which is a core tenet of agility. The takeaway is to see the backlog not as a project plan to be finished, but as a roadmap that is constantly being redrawn based on new discoveries. Question 15. The Scrum Master is a servant leader. What does this mean? A. The Scrum Master serves the developers by getting them coffee and scheduling their meetings. B. The Scrum Master leads the team by making key decisions and assigning all work. C. The Scrum Master focuses on the needs of the team and stakeholders, aiming to serve rather than command. D. The Scrum Master's main job is to serve the product owner by writing product backlog items. Answer: C. The Scrum Master focuses on the needs of the team and stakeholders, aiming to serve rather than command. A servant leader prioritizes the growth and well-being of the people and the communities to which they belong. In Scrum, this means the Scrum Master leads by empowering the team, facilitating their events, coaching them in self-management, and removing impediments to their success. Their authority comes from influence and service, not from a hierarchical position. For instance, instead of telling the team how to solve a conflict, a servant leader would facilitate a conversation so the team can resolve it themselves, helping them grow in the process. Remember, the goal of a servant leader is to help the team become self-sufficient, not dependent on the leader. Question 16. What is the time box for a sprint retrospective for a 1-month sprint? A. 1 hour. B. 3 hours. C. 4 hours. D. 8 hours. Answer: B. 3 hours. The Scrum Guide provides proportional time boxes for its events based on a 1-month sprint. For a 1-month, or 4-week, sprint, the sprint retrospective is time-boxed to a maximum of 3 hours. For shorter sprints, the event is usually shorter. This timebox provides a sufficient container for the Scrum team to inspect how the last sprint went regarding individuals, interactions, processes, tools, and their definition of done, and to create a plan for improvements. It's a simple rule to remember: for a 1-month sprint, the retrospective is 3 hours, and the sprint review is 4 hours. Question 17. The developers have selected a set of product backlog items for the sprint. They then construct a plan for how they will build the increment and realize the sprint goal. What is this plan called? A. The sprint plan. B. The sprint goal. C. The sprint backlog. D. The task board. Answer: C. The sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is one of the 3 official Scrum artifacts and is composed of 3 parts: the sprint goal, the why, the set of product backlog items selected for the sprint, the what, and an actionable plan for delivering the increment, the how. This plan is created by and for the developers. It is an emergent, real-time picture of the work the developers plan to accomplish during the sprint to achieve the sprint goal. A common way to visualize this plan is a task board, but the official Scrum term for the entire artifact is the sprint backlog. Question 18. Who is responsible for ensuring the Scrum team adheres to Scrum theory, practices, and rules? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The developers. D. The entire Scrum team. Answer: B. The Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is the accountability on the Scrum team responsible for ensuring Scrum is understood and enacted. They do this by acting as a coach and teacher for the Scrum team and the wider organization, helping everyone understand Scrum theory and practice. While the entire team is accountable for their respective roles and for creating a valuable increment, the Scrum Master is specifically accountable for the team's effective use of the framework itself. This is a core part of their role as a true leader who serves the team by promoting and supporting Scrum. Question 19. A key stakeholder is repeatedly attending the daily Scrum and disrupting the meeting by asking for status updates and giving new instructions. What is the most effective first step for the Scrum Master to take? A. Ask the product owner to speak with the stakeholder. B. Politely ask the stakeholder to leave the meeting. C. Explain to the stakeholder the purpose of the daily Scrum and that it is a planning event for the developers. D. Report the stakeholder's behavior to their manager. Answer: C. Explain to the stakeholder the purpose of the daily Scrum and that it is a planning event for the developers. The Scrum Master's role includes coaching the organization on its interactions with the Scrum team. The most effective and professional first step is to educate the stakeholder about the purpose of the daily Scrum. It is a 15-minute event for the developers to synchronize their activities and create a plan for the next 24 hours, not a status meeting for outsiders. By explaining this, the Scrum Master helps the stakeholder understand how to engage with the team constructively, such as at the sprint review, fostering transparency and respect. This approach resolves the issue through education rather than confrontation. Question 20. Which of the following is not one of the 3 pillars of empirical process control? A. Transparency. B. Inspection. C. Adaptation. D. Velocity. Answer: D. Velocity. Scrum is founded on empiricism, which asserts that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed. The 3 pillars that uphold this theory are transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Transparency means the process and work are visible to those performing the work and those receiving it. Inspection involves frequently examining Scrum artifacts and progress toward a goal to detect undesirable variances. Adaptation means adjusting the process or the product to minimize any further deviation. Velocity, while a useful metric for a team to forecast its capacity, is not a foundational pillar of the Scrum framework itself. Question 21. What does it mean for a Scrum team to be cross-functional? A. Every member of the team must possess every skill required to create the product. B. The team collectively has all the skills necessary to create a done increment without depending on others outside the team. C. The team is composed of specialists from different organizational departments like QA, UI/UX, and back-end development. D. Each team member can be swapped with another team member to do their job. Answer: B. The team collectively has all the skills necessary to create a done increment without depending on others outside the team. A cross-functional team in Scrum means that the team as a whole possesses all the competencies needed to accomplish the work and create a valuable, done increment, without needing help from people outside the team. It does not mean every individual has every skill, but rather that the collective skill set is complete. For instance, the team might include members with expertise in design, development, testing, and operations. This internal capability reduces external dependencies, improves communication, and enables the team to take full ownership of their work from concept to completion. Question 22. At the end of a sprint, an item from the sprint backlog is not done. What happens to it? A. The sprint is extended until the item is finished. B. The item is automatically moved into the next sprint's backlog. C. It is returned to the product backlog for the product owner to reorder. D. The Scrum Master ensures the team works overtime to complete it. Answer: C. It is returned to the product backlog for the product owner to reorder. If a product backlog item is not finished to the standard of the definition of done by the end of a sprint, it is not included in the increment. The unfinished work is placed back on the product backlog. It is not automatically carried over to the next sprint. Instead, the product owner must re-evaluate its priority relative to all other items in the backlog. It may be selected for the next sprint, or it might be deprioritized based on new information or feedback from the sprint review. This process ensures that the product backlog remains an accurate and prioritized reflection of what is most valuable for the product. Question 23. What is the role of a manager, e.g., a development manager, in an organization that uses Scrum? A. To manage the daily tasks of the developers and ensure they are productive. B. They have no role and should be removed from the organization. C. To support the Scrum team by helping remove organizational impediments and fostering an environment where Scrum can thrive. D. To attend the daily Scrum to collect status information for reporting to upper management. Answer: C. To support the Scrum team by helping remove organizational impediments and fostering an environment where Scrum can thrive. In an organization using Scrum, the role of traditional managers shifts from directing work to supporting self-managing teams. A manager can provide crucial support by acting as a servant leader for the team at an organizational level. This includes helping to remove impediments that are beyond the team's control, like resolving cross-departmental conflicts, providing resources, and fostering a culture of trust and empowerment that allows the empirical process of Scrum to flourish. Their focus moves from managing people to managing the system in which the teams operate. Question 24. What is the primary purpose of the sprint goal? A. It is a high-level summary of the product backlog items selected for the sprint. B. It is a commitment by the developers to implement a certain number of features. C. It provides focus, flexibility, and a coherent objective for the sprint, encouraging the team to work together. D. It is a contractual agreement with stakeholders that must be met. Answer: C. It provides focus, flexibility, and a coherent objective for the sprint, encouraging the team to work together. The sprint goal is a single, clear objective for the sprint that provides focus and encourages collaboration among the developers. It answers the question, why are we building this increment? While it is crafted from the product backlog items, it is more than just a summary. It is a coherent objective that allows for flexibility in the exact work needed to achieve it. This enables the team to adapt their plan within the sprint if they learn new things, without losing sight of the overall purpose. For example, A sprint goal might be, implement a basic shopping cart checkout process, which guides the team even if the specific tasks change. Question 25. Who creates the definition of done? A. The product owner, as they are responsible for the product's value. B. The Scrum Master, as they are responsible for the process. C. The organization, to ensure consistency across all teams. D. The Scrum team. Answer: D. The Scrum team. The definition of done is a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product, and it is the shared responsibility of the entire Scrum team, developers, product owner, and Scrum Master. If an organizational standard for done exists, the Scrum team must adopt it as a minimum and can add to it to create an even more stringent version for their product. This shared creation and ownership ensure that everyone on the team has a common understanding of what it means for work to be complete, which is crucial for achieving transparency and delivering a high-quality increment.